Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, October 25th edition of the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. A lot of news to talk about. A lot of crazy stuff happened yesterday. Thursday was a crazy, crazy day for news in MMA. It always is. There's no day that goes by that this sport doesn't have something crazy happen, but yesterday took the cake. I'm going to get right into it right now. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about, but the first thing I mentioned is UFC 244 and the main event between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. It's up in the air at this point. Nate Diaz posted a tweet yesterday saying that he's had some issues with testing positive for some sort of elevated levels of, I believe, testosterone, and he potentially could be removed from UFC 244. Now, this hasn't been 100% official yet. According to Arroyo, there's still hope that the fight could happen. So if anyone's reporting the fight's been canceled, it's not true. It has not been canceled yet. There's a chance it could be, but not right now. As of right now, it's still up in the air. So I'm going to read Nate Diaz's statement. I'm not going to make it out to New York City for fight week next week because they say I tested with elevated levels. They say it might be from some tainted supplements. I call false from that cause. I only take whole foods or natural food supplements. I don't even eat meat. So until the UFC, USADA, whoever is effing with me fixes it, I won't be competing. I'm not going to play their game and try and hide it or keep quiet, as they suggested. I'm not going to have my name tainted as a cheater like these other MFers who keep quiet until after the fight just so they can get paid. Effing cheaters. I don't give an F about some money over my dignity, my legacy, and my playing along with this BS. I'm not staying quiet and figuring it out after the fight. That's cheating. So fight game. I'll see you when I see you. Sincerely, the realest, baddest MFer in the game. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, this blew up. I'm just looking at his tweet right now. 25,000 retweets, 100,000 likes. That's insane. So a huge tweet. People obviously very disappointed with this news. But again, it's not 100% official that he's going to be removed from the card. There's still a chance he could fight. I don't know if it's a good chance at this point. It seems like we can never get nice things in MMA. And at this point, obviously wouldn't surprise me if the fight was scrapped or moved or something. But, you know, as far as him testing, I mean, I'm shocked. I think we all are. Nate and Nick are like two of the cleanest fighters. Yeah, they smoke weed, but as far as like taking PEDs and stuff, like especially Nate, he's so anti-PED. I don't believe for a second that he's taken something. I think that you saw this test do detect some stuff sometimes, and they get guys by mistake, like Brock Weaver. He was recently removed from that card at UFC Tampa against Thomas Gifford, and he yesterday was cleared like 2 weeks later, saying that they had, I guess, made a mistake. They basically just cleared him. So I have a feeling that's the same with Nate Diaz. I mean, I can't go here and say for a fact that Nate didn't take anything, but just based on everything we've seen from him over the years, I don't think he's. I doubt Nate Diaz is on steroids. I mean, this guy is the most anti-steroid fighter probably in the UFC. And he's also been tested tons of times. So for it to happen right now it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of an anomaly. Again, that's just my opinion, and that's not science. So we got to wait and see what USADA says about this. But yeah, I mean, disappointing. It's crazy, right? The fight's a week away. I mean, everyone's looking forward to it. If this fight gets canceled, this card's screwed. The UFC screwed. I mean, this is the main event of one of the biggest cards of the year, the BMF title on the line. Like, I don't think the UFC was expecting that to not happen. If the fight is canceled, Leon Edwards has kind of put his foot forward and said that he would take the fight. But here's the problem with this. Okay, so according to Leon Edwards, he offered the UFC to be a paid backup and to train and get ready for this fight just in case of an injury. And he said the UFC declined that offer, and he was not training. So he actually said that he'd rather fight December 14th in Las Vegas. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, the UFC needs a main event for this card. I don't think you can do Kelvin Gastelum versus Darren Till, which I'll talk about in a second as well. But Leon Edwards versus Jorge Masvidal, it's not like a huge fight. It's still a good fight, though. And I still think you could possibly get by with that as a main event. I don't know if it'd be for the BMF belt. I mean, that really is the Diaz-Masvidal fight. But Edwards is a great fighter. I think people underrate Leon Edwards. I think he has a good chance to be either Nate Diaz or Jorge Masvidal. But, this fight was being promoted as the BMF title. I don't think Leon Edwards is in that conversation, although I think he is a tremendous fighter who could probably beat both these guys. I do think it is bad of the UFC not to have had a backup just in case this kind of thing could happen. Anyone can get hurt at any time. Like, I think for all main events for these major pay-per-view cards, how could you not have a backup? The only other thing they could do is move either Luque or Thompson up to fight Masvidal if this fight's scrapped and they want to keep the card going. I really don't know what's going to happen. At this point, it's all up in the air. It's all speculation. I'm praying that this fight happens, guys. I think we all are. This is the fight we all want to see. It's 1 week away, Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, and now it's looking like it's up in the air. Very, very sad. Sucks. But, that's the fight game. I mean, really, like, until these guys step into the cage, you're not guaranteed to watch the fight. Now, as far as Gastelum and Till goes, there was a tweet today by Diaz, Talk MMA, and he said that he's hearing Till could have visa issues. I'm not sure if that's been corroborated yet, but definitely something to keep in mind going forward into fight week. Till obviously had some issues in I think the spring or in summer, getting into trouble with the law over there in Europe. So, I mean, maybe that there's something to do with that. I'm not going to go and say that this fight's off too, but I mean, if that fight was canceled as well, this card would have to be scrapped. Even though it's a good card, I guess it would actually be moved to a fight night or something. But at this point, the card looks good, but without Masvidal and Diaz, it's not a pay-per-view. And I don't know if the UFC could market it as. Although, like I said, the rest of the card's really good. It's a really solid card. I mean, it's Thompson, Luque, Lewis, Ivanov, Anderson, Walker, Lee, Gillespie. Great card. So we'll see what happens. Guys. I mean, we'll probably hear some news today or tomorrow. I'll have to talk about it Monday. But, yeah, I mean, I'm crossing my fingers. We all are. Please, Nate Diaz, please make it to the fight. Please, USADA, let this guy fight. And, it's funny, right? Like, so many people now saying, like, oh, I wish USADA would never got into the sport and all that. Well, that's the problem with it. USADA, it's good in some ways and bad in some others, I guess, because they have flagged guys by mistake in the past, and I think Diaz is one of those guys that's been flagged by mistake. But we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully we'll get some news today or tomorrow. Let's get to some other news here. I was shocked yesterday. I saw Randy Couture had suffered a heart attack, and this guy is such a legend. He had a heart attack at the gym that he trained at, Unbreakable MMA in LA, and he walked to the hospital after having a heart attack. That's the stuff of legend. This guy he's such a badass. He really is. I love Randy. I always did. For me, he's always been one of my favorite fighters in MMA history. One of the most well-respected guys, and a true ambassador of the sport, an incredible fighter, one of the greatest fighters of all time. I mean, the guy was fighting heavyweight when he was one of the smallest guys. He was a 5-time UFC champion, light heavyweight champion, fought in Japan, fought in the UFC. He fought until he was, I think, 48 years old. He fought the Ultimate Chief when he was 48 in Toronto at UFC 129, suffered that crane kick, but, that was crazy that at 48 he was still fighting. So the guy's an absolute legend. He's a god amongst men. He really is. And, just seeing him suffer a heart attack scares the hell out of me personally. I mean, the guy he's only 56. So, heart attack is one of the leading causes of death for men. And it could happen to any of us. And it could happen to me. It could happen to you. It's sad and scary. It scares the hell out of me, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's something that runs in my family personally. So it's something I do think about sometimes. And it sounds like a very painful way to die, to be honest with you. But, Randy's a very strong guy, and apparently he has survived it, so that's great, and he seems to be stabilized. And I think he's still at the hospital in the intensive care unit, but all reports are that he's feeling a lot better. I saw Loretta Hunt, who wrote his book, which is a great book, by the way. I think that's from like 10 years ago. I have that book. It's an amazing book. I believe it's called Becoming the Natural, if I'm not mistaken. She said that he's feeling a lot better. So, prayers to Randy Couture, man. Again, one of my favorites and just a great guy. I don't think anyone besides maybe Dana White has had anything bad to say. And I got to mention this. I get that you don't have to go and express your public sentiment to people. You don't have to, but it would have been nice to hear Dana White send a tweet out or something just about Randy and, hey, Randy, I heard what happened. I hope you feel better. Like Scott Coker did. It takes a second to do that. I know Dana is a busy guy. Apparently he was actually having dinner with Donald Trump yesterday, apparently, and that's why he didn't have a comment about the Nate Diaz thing, according to Kevin Iole, Yahoo. It's not Dana's fault that Randy got sick or anything like that, but I just think it would have been nice for him to send a tweet out. That's all. And, maybe some people will disagree with me on that, and that's fair, but, I just think that it would have been a better look. And the UFC didn't say anything either. Again, it's not like he died, so that's good, but at the same time, though, heart attack's a very serious thing, and I just feel like the UFC could have made a statement. The guy was one of the greatest fighters in UFC history. He's in the Hall of Fame. It would have taken a second for the UFC PR team to whip up a statement. So, I just think it's kind of telling that Bellator said something, PFL said something, but the UFC doesn't. Anyways, I hope Randy feels a lot better. Again, the guy's a legend, man. Walked to the hospital after having a heart attack and brought himself to the hospital. That's incredible. That's amazing. The guy's an absolute legend. All right, let's get to some other news here. Sergio Pettis has signed with Bellator. Now, this is pretty big. He was a free agent. He's only 26, so he's very young. And that's the one thing I like about this signing for Bellator is that this guy still has a lot of potential. He's very, very young. You don't see free agents in their 20s usually leave the promotion. So I guess we did see with Sage Northcutt, but in general, it's guys in their 30s, maybe 40s even. You don't really see 20-year-olds leave a promotion. So it's a good signing by Bellator. I mean, I'm assuming he'll be fighting at bantamweight because they don't have a flyweight division. It's possible they could introduce flyweight. And the guy had a good record. In MMA, he has an 18-5 record, and the UFC had a 9-5 record. So a very solid record in the octagon, no doubt about it. Great wins over Tosto Benavidez, Brandon Moreno, John Moraga, Tyson Nam in his last fight. He looked really good in that fight. Here's the problem with Sergio Pettis. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2013. It's 2019. It's almost 2020. How many fights did he finish in that period? Out of 14 fights that he had, he finished 0 fights. In fact, out of the 14 fights, only 2 of them ended inside distance, both stoppage losses against him. He did not finish one fight. 9 wins by decision. If you're the UFC, why would you pay a lot of money to keep him? I'm sorry, but like you got to finish fights. This is a sport about entertainment. And the guy, he's won 2 fight of the nights. To be fair, they were also 2 of his first 5 fights. He has not won a bonus in 5 years, so he really wasn't putting on exciting fights. Again, he's a talented guy. He can fight at 125, 135. I do like to sign him for Bellator because he's super young and has potential. But I can't blame the UFC for not trying harder to re-sign him. I really can't. When you don't finish a fight in 6 years, you're not going to be someone the UFC has on a high priority list. So, again, it's a solid signing by Bellator. It's not a great signing. I wouldn't go and say it's a great signing because, again, this guy has had ample opportunity by the UFC to really make a statement. Never did, in my opinion. The Joseph Benavidez win was his best win. And it was a really good performance. A close fight, but he deserved to win that fight. But other than that, he's looked good at times, but never really broke out to be that superstar guy like his brother Anthony. I remember when he came up in RFA and a couple of the other promotions in Milwaukee, I think a lot of us thought this guy could eventually be a champion. But it never happened in the UFC. It could happen in Bellator, though. I could see him actually competing for Bellator's bantamweight title. Maybe they do Pettis versus Horiguchi. That's a solid fight. I would like to watch that fight. I think stylistically, that's a fun fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying when you've had 14 fights and you don't get any finishes, I can absolutely see why the UFC matchmakers weren't exactly thrilled to give him a big money contract on his way out. So Sergio Pettis, Bellator's newest fighter, and the UFC flyweight division actually shrinks even more, crazy enough. Walt Harris, he's in the news as well. His daughter, Ania, is missing. That's very sad news by Walt Harris. Go check out his Instagram. He posted the police number as well as her license plate number, and there's a description of her as well. Sad news. I hope that they find his daughter. She's apparently been missing for, I guess, just over a day now, 2 days now. Hopefully everything's okay. Police do not suspect any foul play as of yet, so that's a good thing. But anytime your daughter goes missing, it's not a good thing. She's 19 years old. She lives in Auburn, Alabama. Hopefully they find Walt Harris. It's his daughter, and prayers to Walt and his family. A lot of there was a lot of bad news yesterday, guys. I mean, there really was, and this obviously wasn't great news either. Maycee Barber's back at it, calling out Paige VanZant once again, posting an Instagram message, just calling out Paige again and just saying like, you want to fight, and I'm calling you out. And I agree with her. I mean, it's not right. She's complaining she's not getting matchups by the UFC, and then they offer her Maycee. I'm talking about Paige here, and she just turns it down. Her manager is like, "Oh, we're not going to give her the benefit of fighting us and stuff." It's ridiculous. They're really overrating Paige VanZant as a straw. I know she has a lot of Instagram followers. That's cool. Like, doesn't mean that the UFC thinks she's like some superstar. This is the fight to make. They want it. Barber wants this fight. She deserves this fight. VanZant's got to fight someone. Barber's the girl of fighters. So I think the UFC is going to find a way to figure it out and get this fight booked. Maybe that's to give Paige a little bit more money. I don't know, but they got to get this fight booked. A couple fight announcements here. UFC Sao Paulo gets a fight between Antonio Arroyo and Andre Muniz. Antonio Arroyo, let me pull these guys out here. Let's see. Antonio Arroyo, I think he was a Contender Series. A 9-2 record. Yeah, Contender Series. He had an arm triangle choke. I talked about him last week. He was supposed to fight Kevin Holland first and then Alessio DeCirco. So 2 of his opponents have fallen out. He's actually on a 5-fight win streak. Contender Series veteran, like I said. Fought in the Brazilian Contender Series and then on the American Contender Series. He's taking on Andre Muniz here. who's taking the fight on short notice. He has an 18-4 record, 29 years old. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He also was actually on a contender series. He beat Taylor Johnson by submission. So I do vaguely remember him. I got to go watch the tape again to get reminded, but I do remember him a little bit. I guess with Arroyo having a full camp, you'd have to favor him here, but Muniz is actually on a nice little win streak himself. And the other fight is UFC Moscow, Alexander Yakovlev against Roosevelt Roberts. Let me pull those guys out here. Not to be confused with Alexander Volkov. Alexander Yakovlev, the rapper turned MMA fighter. He is 24-8-1 in his career. In the UFC, he's actually 3-4. So not a great record. He's barely fought. He did have one fight this year. He won by submission against Alex da Silva Paulo. That was his first fight in over 3 years. And again, he was supposed to fight Vince Pichel this card. Pichel pulled out. Roosevelt Roberts, who ironically had lost to Vince Pichel recently, will take the fight at short notice. He is 2-1 in the UFC. He beat Daryl Horcher and Thomas Gifford and lost to Vince Pichel. Roberts is pretty good, but I was very disappointed with that last fight. And Yakovlev's a big dude with good grappling skills. So the fact he's fighting Russia, you have to favor him here. But yeah, it could go either way. I'm just going to see if there's any other news here. I should mention in the meantime that Bellator has full odds for both cards. There's one tonight, Bellator 231, Bellator 232 tomorrow. And there's full odds for both main cards. Myself and Cole Shaw broke down the card on Tuesday. I'm not going to break it down again today, but we did break it down during the UFC breakdown show. So go check that out on Tuesday's podcast. Also, funny enough, Bellator apparently there's a girl fighting from them, and she's actually she's a porn star and she's an MMA fighter. She's making her pro debut. So I think that's it's kind of crazy. I checked her Twitter. I had to do my my research, my tape study. Yeah, you guys can do your own tape study on her. But her name is Orion Star. Go check her out if you want. She's fighting in Bellator tonight. And yes, she is an adult film star as well. So that's a first. I mean, we've seen War Machine do adult films, but not when he was in a big promotion, I don't think. So yeah, check that out. As far as other news goes, I mean, really, we're just going to basically wait on what's happening at UFC 244. Also, there's a one championship event going on this morning, and apparently John Lineker's fighting, so that's cool. And what else? I think that's it. Okay, so for this podcast, I have it on. It's on Anchor right now. Go to Anchor, guys, and go subscribe to it. Check it out. Spotify has a podcast as well now. SoundCloud, YouTube. So there's a lot of places. Next week, hopefully, crossing my fingers again, that we'll get the podcast on iTunes. So hopefully that's going to happen very shortly. I think that's about it. So it's Friday, guys. And I'm actually supposed to be an uncle this weekend. My sister is supposed to have her first child and supposed to be an uncle for the first time. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Could happen today, could happen tomorrow. Pretty excited about that. I'm not going to lie. So big things happening in my personal life. And I hope you guys have a great weekend as well. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. And this podcast, as always, is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com and on our YouTube channel. Go like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about it, and spread the word, guys. I appreciate that. And again, it's available at Anchor and Spotify and a couple other places now, and hopefully iTunes within the next few days. I'm just waiting on them to confirm that, but that should happen very shortly, as well as SoundCloud and also bjpenn.com, always writing stuff for them, and mmarings.net as well. So, guys, once again, thanks for tuning in. Today's the Friday edition of the show, and I want to give one quick more shout out to my buddy Carlin Barsley. I was on his podcast yesterday, and we did a long show talking just about actually some non-MMA stuff on my personal life as well, and we got a little bit deep into it. We're good friends, so it was cool. All right, that's it, guys, for today's podcast. Thanks again. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or see you guys Monday. Actually, have a good one. Bye.